This video will cover the bell work called Westvaco Data Part 2. This is our answer key, so I'll write that in the top right. You can put your name there, please. Our first task is to read the question. Westvaco employed 36 salaried employees. In round one of layoffs, it let go of 7 employees with an average age of 56.7. Open circles represent employees that were laid off. Let's just take a minute and talk about this word, laid off. There we go. Laid off means that somebody loses their job. So these open circles indicate a person that lost their job. This person would be perhaps a 68-year-old person that lost their job. Maybe 69. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is complete this table, and we notice that there are a couple of different variables. Here, going this way, we have age. So that's one variable in this table. And the other variable in this table is employment status. So whether a person was laid off or whether they were retained is called their employment status. So I would write that here. I should have given you a little extra space. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line at age 40, and I'm going to label under 40, and I'm going to label over 40. And now I'm going to fill in the table. So for the folks under 40, first of all, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total folks under 40. And one of those, this open circle right there, that open circle is a person laid off, which means there were 8 people who were retained. Now we'll do the same thing for the folks over 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. 27 total people. And when I count the open circles, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people laid off. So that means 21 people were retained. I can complete the table by adding down. 1 plus 6 is 7. 8 plus 21 is 29, and 9 plus 27 is 36, which does match the total number of people that is stated in the question to begin with. We've got 36 total employees, so that's good. Next, it asks me to compute the proportion under 40 who were laid off. So under 40 laid off, under 40 is that pink row, so that would be 1 person out of 9, and if I use a calculator I can see that that's 0.11 repeating, or about 11%. The proportion of people over 40 laid off, over 40, that would be 6 out of 27. So 6 out of 27 is, let me get my calculator, I think it's 22%. Yep. So what we see here is we see a pattern that for folks under 40, 11% were laid off. And for over 40, we see that 22% were laid off. This is evidence in favor of Robert Martin. This is evidence of age discrimination, that older people had a higher likelihood of being laid off. Okay, so now we're going to flip the paper over and look at this next question. To determine whether there was age discrimination, a statistician performs a simulation. And this is on the same data. Okay, so the statistician puts how many, we have to choose one of these, ages into the applet. We studied these applets in class last time. So we need to know how many data points did we have. Well, we had 36 data points. So we're going to circle 36 data points. She sets the sample size to what? Is it 1, 7, 36, or 40? If I go back here, it says that 7 employees, 7 employees were laid off. So that is going to be my sample size. We're interested in looking at 7 people being laid off. She sets the number of samples to what? We want to take lots of samples. So I would take 1,000 samples. 1 and 7 are definitely not big enough. 36 is kind of mediocre. 1,000 would be great. And we can see down here that indeed we did take 1,000 samples. She gets the following distribution, and she uses the computer to count the number of times the average age of those selected was greater than 56.7. So 56.7 was the average age of the 7 people laid off. And so now we are running a fair simulation. Fair meaning that we use chance to select people for layoff. So we're not looking at the people themselves. We're not picking them in any other way than by choosing their names out of a hat. And we did that over and over again. And when we do, we find that this magic number, 56.7 or greater, happened 36 times out of 1,000. And that's a proportion of 0.036. So is 56.7 a reasonably likely outcome? I'm going to say no. The probability of getting an average age of 56.7 or greater is 0.036, which corresponds to 3.6%. And this is low. 3.6% is less than our threshold value of 5%. We would say it is not reasonably likely. And when we run a fair simulation and we get an outcome that is not reasonably likely, that is evidence of something unfair happening. Of unfair practices. And another way of saying unfair practices is discrimination. All right, I hope this helped, and you can move on to your next statistics activity.